نرحب بكم مجددا حضورنا الكريم، حيث تقام بعد قليل الجلسة السادسة والأخيرة لهذا اليوم، وهي بعنوان بناء عالم أفضل مع القادة الشباب، وتبحث في محاور الدوافع وراء رغبة الشباب في التغيير والتحديات التي يواجهها القادة الشباب في المراحل الأولى من تأسيس مبادراتهم وأثر مبادرات القادة الشباب. ونستضيف هذه الجلسة أوكان دورسون، العضو المؤسس لشركة توين ساينس وقائد شاب لأهداف التنمية المستدامة الشبابية. ثوي أنغو، المؤسس والرئيس التنفيذي لشركات أليغو وهاسو. خالد زعترة، رائد أعمال ومبتكر والشريك المؤسس لVUZ 360. إرفيلي غوناري، المؤسس والرئيس التنفيذي لزي لاين. ويدير الجلسة علي سلامة، المؤسس والرئيس التنفيذي لشركة EMPWR.
Now, the sixth and final session is held for today. It's about reshaping the world with youth leaders. It discusses the drive and motivation behind youth desire for change, shortcomings and challenges faced by young leaders at the early stages of the establishment of their initiatives, and the impact of young leader initiatives. Our guests, Okan Dursan, founding member of Twin Science and the UN Young Leader of the SDGs. Thuy Anh, founder and CEO of HASU ALIGO. Khaled Zaatarah, entrepreneur, innovator and founder of 360 VUZ. And Erifili Gounari, founder and CEO of the Z-Link. The session will be moderated by Ally Salama, founder and CEO of EMPWR. Yes.
First of all, before we start, I would just love to say thank you for the lovely organization, and we're here to share our stories as youth leaders, but we're also here to make sure that this is an engaging panel, so we will be giving out the opportunity for you to interact with us. A little bit about today. My name is Ally Salama. I'm joined with an esteemed panel of incredible talent, global talent. And I think that our purpose today is to empower youth and empower all of us listening today to take actionable steps to be able to understand where we are today, but also understand how we can take great action to have a better quality life for the younger generation. We've seen the leadership of this incredible country take incredible initiative. And today we also want to be able to add on to that as well. Again, my name is Ally Salama, and I'll be passing the mic to Khaled right now for a small introduction, and we'll be taking the conversation from there on.
Thank you, Ali. My name is Khaled Zaatarah. I'm the CEO and founder of Views. Views is one of the leading immersive social platforms that is born from Dubai to the world. We have expanded now into offices in Los Angeles, Riyadh, Malaysia. We were a small idea a couple of years ago that came from a coffee shop here in Dubai. Thankfully, now we have scaled globally with over 1 billion screen views a year, and we're scaling and we're making a big impact. I'll tell you maybe a little bit about the story later on after this intro, and I'll tell you a little bit about what inspired me and what we want to do to inspire the youth from the region and globally.
Thank you so much, Khaled.
Hi everyone, my name is Thuy Anh from Vietnam. I'm the founder and CEO of HASU, a healthcare technology platform for the elderly. So you know that in 2020, when COVID came and everyone is locked inside the house, and including my parents and my grandparents. So when I saw them just being inside and doing nothing, and my grandmother's health is going down really a lot, and she has Alzheimer's that she cannot remember who we are anymore. So at that time, I thought like we cannot let that situation happen. So we create a platform to bring everyone to an online world where elderly people can go online and exercise daily with a very simple instruction, and also to connect with their friends and family and peers and have a variety of courses online. So they can sing online also, they can learn how to draw online, they can share with friends. And basically we have like thousands and thousands of people getting healthier and happier during COVID-19.
Yeah, thank you so much, Thuy Anh. I think that in today's digital and global world, one thing that I find super fascinating is the way unique interactions happen online. And this is something that we've seen over the past 5 years, what TikTok has been able to generate. Ecosystems are now living online and offline. And I know that Okan is going to really shape this up very well with his background in EdTech. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, my friend. First of all, ahlan to everyone. Shukran. It's really amazing to be here. I am from Turkey. I just came here from Istanbul, and I'm really like feeling I am at home. And I'm just feeling like I am just Istanbul in Turkey here. Thanks for your hospitality. Thanks for your all friendly, amazing exhibition. I'm really honored to be part of that. I am a social entrepreneur working for EdTech, education technology market. More than 5 years. I am 27 years old, by the way. And this year I selected one of the 17 young leaders for United Nations, which is focused on sustainable development goals. As you know, there are 17 goals we have. Until 2030, we need to face that global crisis we are in right now, like climate action, like quality of education. There are 17 of them. I am working for quality of education, as Ali, my friend, said. We are empowering the future leaders, future entrepreneurs, change makers of tomorrow as an enterprise. Our company name is Twin Science. The name Twin comes from that social purpose. We are educating both advantaged children who has an economic and social advantage, but at the same time we are educating the children don't have any accessibility in education. We will talk more about that. There are lots of schools don't have any STEM materials, don't have any internet access, don't have any technological devices. This is the key point to struggle that problem. We are working more on that side, and I will just deep dive into that in our conversation. Thank you very much again. Thanks for your hospitality.
Thank you, Okan. I think that there's so much we can learn from not just empowering young youth change makers, but I think this perfectly also fits with Erifili right now, the Z-Link. The floor is yours, Erifili.
Thank you, Ali, and hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here. So I'm Erifili Gounari. I'm 23 years old, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Z-Link, which is the first Gen Z-led social media agency that helps brands reach our generation. So basically what we do is we help brands and organizations across many different industries connect with our generation and spread their messaging to them through effective social media content and strategies that actually resonate with Gen Z, because that has been proven very difficult for brands to learn how to do. I started the Z-Link 2.5 years ago, and we now have a global team of over 20 Gen Z marketers, designers, and social media strategists. And that has allowed us to work on some very exciting initiatives to support our generation in different ways. So in 2021, we started an online community called the Gen Z Club, which grew to over 18,000 members in less than 6 months.
Wow.
It was originally based on an app that was popular at the time called Clubhouse, and then it moved on Twitter and other platforms. And we basically used that community to host live conversations between people from our generation and brands or organizations that wanted a direct space to communicate and discuss with us. So, for example, we hosted a room with the United Nations and their young people working on their peacekeeping team. So people from our generation could join and ask questions and get to know them and just connect with them more directly. So in general, through my agency and through our community, we try a lot to use our resources to promote Gen Z entrepreneurship and in general to support our generation with pursuing their careers, even if it's like unconventional careers, very ambitious, through digital tools.
Thank you so much, Erifili. I think one major comment that I was hearing is the fact that many of the skill sets that we have today weren't particularly available 20 years, 15 years back. I think there's so much to learn from younger people, generations, leaders. So I want to kind of touch into this next question, and that is for the entire floor. What's one leadership skill set or characteristic that you find is essential in youth change makers today that can go on to make a humongous impact? What has been that characteristic or trait for you?
I think the main characteristic is being a hustler, getting things and making things happen, and finding all the possibilities and making the impossible possible in a way. So I think this is a very important trait in terms of what I call the 3 Ps. Persistence, passion, and patience.
Yes.
And I feel that many of the maybe Gen Zs don't have that much of patience. So sometimes they might lose hope rather than being persistent. So I think having the 3 Ps together and balancing them together would drive that success forward.
I can definitely touch on that, Khaled, as well. I think that, as a mental health spokesperson, a leader of a community in the mental health space, one thing we're realizing is technology has made everything a lot easier to have, or look so easier, which doesn't always mean that it is easier. But we also see a lot of the time impatience because of distorted realities, distorted perceptions. I think that it is our responsibility and our duty as leaders or as people who have influence over this next generation to actually show them how to build resilience. And I think this is an incredible skill set, especially as we go into the metaverse and many other technological advancements. So I think you touched on a really, really good point here. And thank you so much for pointing the 3 Ps out.
I think to me, one of the characteristics that is really extremely important to our young people is the flexibility. Because, if you shape yourself into a form and it's really hard to change, and then whenever something comes, and then it's really hard to kind of cope with the new situation. So that's why I think one thing that big corporations always have to, they cannot look down is startups, because they are easy to change and they can easily adapt with something very new and modern. So that's why I think flexibility is also something that's really critical for young people to really have achieve better skill set, I think.
Thank you so much, Thuy Anh. Okan.
Exactly. I think the important thing is the world is changing. Everybody knows about that. But the direction of that change is unstable. We don't know. There are lots of digital skills are occurring. There are lots of green skills are occurring. How you can be adaptive on that change is important. That's why I just say resilience is the most important skills I think young generation should have. We are talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking about blockchain world, metaverse world. We don't know what they will bring us. Of course, there are lots of advantages we will face, we will use. But being resilient is really important on that side. I can add one more thing as well. I think the world is, everybody is talking about when it comes to business and creating value, business to business, B2B, or business to customer, B2C. But I am calling as the new world, this should be human to human, H to H. Some leaders are talking about that right now, starting to talk about that. I think being connected with the people surrounding yourself is really important. The one has similar values, the one has common agenda, should be together and create wider value together. That is why these kind of forums, exhibitions are really important to bring the people who has same goal. This is the important thing. Maybe I can end up my parties. The world is going more human-oriented, H to H part. So I strongly empower the young generation, meeting with new people and connect as they can as much as possible for creating wider value with their experience.
Okan, thank you very much. I think community is really important, and I think the sense of belonging is something that we are losing and gaining at the same time. We are losing it maybe within identities, whether it's Arab or Western. There's a big element that we're gaining as well. We're gaining much more a sense of connectivity between different perspectives, and that is a very, very powerful thing. And I think belonging is something that I can definitely vouch for. That's extremely important. Erifili, what about you?
For me, so I lead a team of everyone who is between 18 to 25 years old. So it's very much like a Gen Z team. And we also work with clients that are older generations, also same age as us. There's a lot of intergenerational communications in what we do. And what I've seen in terms of leadership skill set is that it makes a huge difference for me leading my team, but also for the clients we work with, to lead with trust and empathy. And that sounds intuitive, but it makes a really big difference if you trust a team of young people to do what they know they need to do and to provide the results they need to provide without micromanaging them. So on a very practical aspect, I've seen that micromanaging and not trusting young people in their work never turns out well, and it's not as tolerated anymore as it used to be. And then in terms of empathy, when we work with older clients whose goal is to understand our generation better, it's so important to communicate in a way that, you know, we're both very open to each other's perspectives and just have like a very open, very genuine conversation instead of having an agenda. So I find that that makes a really big difference when working with young people.
I think as well, you mentioned a very unique trait, and that is emotional intelligence. I think 2 years ago, I started a podcast called Empathy Always Wins. So when you said empathy, it really hit hard. And it was just before, 2 months before the pandemic actually hit. And it went to #1 on Apple, and I was invited to Harvard, MIT to talk about, as a young mental health voice or ambassador, about leadership. And I think when you said empathy and connectivity, or actually reaching to the people who might have a different perspective of the world, but connecting with them despite your differences, I think this is a superpower. I think this is incredibly important when you're leading teams that might look visibly different to you, might be from different backgrounds. And I think when we make a lot of connections with the United Nations, human to human as well, Okan, is exactly, I think, a very important phenomenon to see the world through that lens. But now we've talked about leadership, we've talked a little bit about our backgrounds. I want to dive into your stories. I want to know why you are here today, or how you've come to be the person that you are today. So Khaled, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit more about that trip you were talking to me about earlier on. What was what was it for you that changed everything?
So back in 2015, as I recall, I was working with one of the big 4 companies, which is Procter & Gamble. Had great success stories, great results, and so forth. But I always felt that I wanted to do something more, something more impactful, to touch millions of people's lives. So there was a program between UNICEF and P&G that I applied to for global employees. And I was selected out of the 4 people that were selected, and it was a program in Tanzania. And that program have changed my life. As soon as I landed in Tanzania, we went to a school. And it was a very small school. I still remember when I first went in, it only had 2 small windows with bars. It looked more like a prison. There's no chairs or tables or desks for the students to sit on, with no proper notebooks and nothing. And that moment have made me, really think, and changed my life, changed what I want to do in life. And this is where I've seen how many people are displaced around the world, how many people cannot be with their friends, cannot travel, cannot be with different people that they want to be, and how people are displaced. And this is where I thought, how can we use immersive technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, connect them together to let people be anywhere they want to be from their phone, from their mobile phone. And this is where Views was born. You know, Views is a mobile app similar to Netflix, Snapchat, but it's mostly linked to immersive experiences around education, entertainment, sports. So if you want to be in the World Cup, you can now be with the fans in the World Cup right now with your phone. If you want to be at Formula 1 2 weeks ago, you can be there in Formula 1 in the garage pits while you're at Tanzania, for example. So we really remove these barriers, which we call barriers of TTA, travel, time, and access. So we remove the barrier of travel, so you don't need to travel. The time, some people don't have time to be at different places. And then thirdly is access. Many people don't have access to backstage or behind the stage. Yesterday we were with DJ Khaled, for example. We were backstage with him. He was trying our VR headsets, and we took a video of him, and we are right there. And now users have that access as if they are actually with him backstage. So this is where we want to empower people, inspire the youth that they can be anywhere. They want to be the directors of the show. We want to empower them and give them the power of be anywhere they want to be and see everything or anything that they want to see.
I think, Khaled, there's a lot I want to tackle there once we get through listening a lot of our inspiring stories. But we'll get back onto that moment where you overcame your fear, because Procter & Gamble is not a small company. A lot of people want to pursue their passion, but feel scared. So, Thuy Anh, can you talk to us a little bit more about your story starting this incredible health tech community?
I think I should mention a little bit about my childhood, because when I was a little kid, I only lived with my mom and my grandparents, because I don't live with my dad anymore. And one day, my mom told me that she had a heart problem, that she had to go through a surgery. So at that moment, I feel like my life is done, because I don't have anybody except my mom. And I feel like a big loss when I hear that. So from that day, I always have a feeling that I'm pretty afraid of one day that I don't have any other family with me anymore. So time is something that's really critical and important, especially when I see my mom and my grandparents getting old, and I see that they have a lot of health problems that I'm in love with them, but I cannot help. And I feel kind of useless if I cannot do anything for them. Back then, it was a thought of a 9-year-old girl. And then when I grow up, I kind of did a lot of things for my family. And one thing that I did for my grandfather that I never regret is that 6 months before he passed away, together we wrote a book together. Wow. So after he passed away, everybody in the family can read the book again and again and again, so many times, and we think of him, and then we understand the love that he has for his family. Although he was a soldier and he fought during Vietnam War, and he never expressed himself and what he thought. But through the book, we can feel it. We can feel the sacrifice of soldier for the country and for the family. Wow. And yeah, and after that, it just keeps going on. And I want to do more for elderly people. And later, we also offer the diary writing service for the elderly people, and they always cry when they write the book. And we see a lot of tears from the family as well. And it's not a tears of pain, but it's a tear of happiness. Wow. You know.
Wow, I'm feeling goosebumps. Can we just give a round of applause? I think that was quite brave to share. I work in mental health, and we always say safe spaces are very holy, very unique. Not everyone actually has the privilege of feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling like they belong. So really do appreciate your story. Thank you, Thuy Anh. Okan.
Yes. All of my life I live in Istanbul and Turkey. For a business purpose, I just travel all around the world. I just have similar stories. I lost my dad as well when I was 16. I think life is pushing some people to something. Everything happens with a purpose. We don't know yet. We don't understand at first, but I think there are some core reasons what is happening right now. So this is what it is, and that brings our story here. I think my turning point in my life is at my university year. I just studying one of the most prestigious university in Turkey called Özyeğin University. I'm studied industrial engineering. At my second year of my major, I just met with one of the biggest non-governmental organization called Young Guru Academy, YGA. And every year 50,000 applicants try to be volunteer at that program, and only 50 of them select every year. 2015, I was selected one of the 50 volunteer in Turkey, and we were working all over the social projects in Turkey. The core reason why we select is to develop social and innovative projects to solve world's problems. In order to do that, we traveled around all of the Anatolian part of Turkey. I don't know, by the way, have you ever visited Istanbul? Is there anyone visited Istanbul or Turkey? Just raise their hand. It's a pleasure to see all, let's say, not majority of you, but maybe next time you all visit Turkey, and you are always welcome. Anatolian side of Turkey don't have any accessibility and highly, let's say, accessible these kind of solutions. So we were visited all of the areas of Turkey. We were seeing the visually impaired, orphans, refugees at that time. We were developed different projects. For example, one of them is visually impaired have a smart white cane. It's a manual white cane, and it only helps them understand the barriers on the level of food while they are walking. We just combine it with the technology, with mobile phone, so they can understand the barriers in 10 meters of distance while they are walking. And they can also use the navigation of telephone to go somewhere to somewhere. That mobile accessibility helps them to improve their social life status. At the same time, we develop hydro solar panels over the seas to improve energy from the sun. And at the end, we were visited most of the Anatolian, and that brings us a question. There is a huge gap in education as well, because of the accessibility, because of the knowledge they have. We thought that what if we bring a new approach to education market? With that question, we started to develop our products. First, we developed our content, curriculum. We are calling that curriculum double-winged. It can be new face for you. A bird cannot fly with one wing, right? We call as double-winged for children, and one wing includes the technology, the science, and the real know-how of the world. The second wing includes the heart of science, the compassion of the world, so that they can use this technology for a better purpose. While we just develop that curriculum, we use different STEM kits all around the world, but the content is ours, product is not. So it will not bring a practical solution for us. And we developed our own STEM kits, which is easily combined with each other with the help of magnets. And they are all compatible with Lego bricks. Since schools and parents have lots of Lego pieces at their home, we are creating that transformation to use them more efficient way, to prototype their social and emotional, social and innovative projects at their home. First, they learn about technology, understand the heart and conscience of the world, and prototype their projects. And during my whole university year, I just worked for that company, for that social project at first, and we converted from a social enterprise. We are right now a social startup. Over 5 years, we reach out 1 million children, more than 70 countries. We have an office in Istanbul, in London, and United States right now. Hopefully we will open our Middle East office next year. This brings my story here, and I nominated United Nations Young Leader Program, especially for the Sustainable Development Goals #4, Quality for Education. I'm super happy the point where we achieved. I'm super excited to what we will do to achieve more in the next year. So this is whole story I am. I will deep dive into more to win the next question. I think that's why I'm just pausing here.
Absolutely.
And then we will continue about what we are doing.
Absolutely. I think, you know, we were talking together before this panel. I was just mentioning how incredibly powerful if you also enable the Arabic language, because I think what you've done is incredible. And I think that part of also maybe opening an office in the Middle East is taking that next step. And I see so much potential in one thing, and that is engaging young people to actually take the right steps, because we all didn't like school growing up, or most of us didn't find the right way to engage. And I think making something that you need to have, that is education, fun, it is a challenge.
Exactly.
So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. Erifili, would love to learn a bit about your story.
So for me, one of my favorite parts of my work is getting to understand more about how different generations think and communicate, so that important things and important messages don't get lost in translation, which very often happens. So as I mentioned earlier, one of our focuses through our agency and community is sharing resources and guiding young people towards following their dream careers, even if they're not like conventional careers where they live, or if they don't think that they're achievable. And that relates to my story because I work in social media marketing, and I'm very, very happy with my current career, but my background doesn't really connect to what I'm doing now. So I grew up in Greece, and I ended up studying art history at university. So I majored in art history, and throughout all of my teenage years, I was very involved with like digital resources, and I loved exploring how I can use the internet to connect with other people over my interests and just like learn more about the world. So I was like a very digital kid, and I would love creating my own websites and forums and things like that to connect my friends with each other and just enable communication. But when the time came to study and decide what I wanted to do, I was very unsure because I had always been very driven towards theoretical subjects, and I also really liked doing all of these digital things. But back in Greece at that point, it wasn't really known that you could do that as a career in any way. So as I started doing little internships and work around social media marketing, just because I had been so involved with social media, so it was just something that I knew how to do. Back then, that wasn't even called social media marketing, like it hadn't really risen yet. But it led me to a path where I ended up starting my own company and working with a team of people my age to share important messages and connect with each other in a way that I really appreciate now. And that always leads me to think that, I could have never predicted ending up in this type of career now. And tons of people that are maybe like 15 or 16 have all of these different skills and interests that they're passionately involved with, that they're really good at, and maybe just things that make them very unique, and they don't know how to use them as their career, basically. They don't know what's possible. Especially in countries like Greece, where I come from, education system doesn't really share these resources to show you what is available for you in the world. Especially like working remotely and creating something of your own are not very well promoted as like career alternatives. So that's why it's so important for me now to use our global community of Gen Zers, that a lot of them are working on amazing initiatives like all of you guys, to basically inform each other and connect with each other in meaningful ways, so that everyone who is still at school and is confused about what to do has some better guidance about what digital tools are available to them to create something that they are happy with eventually.
I think you mentioned something quite important here, and that is the fact that most of the younger generations are going to be working jobs that don't exist today. So we mentioned flexibility, we've mentioned persistence, we've mentioned adaptability. I think it's quite scary. It's quite scary that we don't know what we don't know in 5-10 years, or the education system might not, like, you studied something that you're not doing today. And I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I think we don't normalize it enough, and I think that I relate to you. I relate to you because, I was in a spot 3 years ago where my family thought, how are you going to talk about mental health and make a living out of it? You're going to be like, you won't be able to get married, you won't be able to do anything. Like, there are challenges that I think, and this is what I want to highlight today, that we as Gen Z, we're brave to tackle. We're not scared to fail. I think one thing I'm realizing from all your stories is that, you know, how can we turn hardships into quite remarkable, not just successes, but quite remarkable learning lessons. And I think one thing I also want to touch today on for our audience, and we will be taking questions, by the way, in a few minutes. So please do hang about if you have any questions for our esteemed speakers. But there is something that is challenging in reshaping the future as young Gen Zs, or as the younger generation walking into the next steps. I think attention is a very big subject. Like, I've been realizing that through my work personally in the mental health space, you can be in the same family, but you can have two totally different people. Your environment, the 5x4 screen, has changed our lives. And I think that's very interesting to see how each one of you are tackling it in your own ways, purpose-driven, sorry. But where do you see the attention of our leaders tomorrow, I mean, us, our young generation, in leading the next generation tomorrow? Where do you see we need to kind of shift our attention towards in order to fill in the gaps that exist? Do you have something to take on that?
I think we need to be all better storytellers, and real authentic storytellers with real life examples. So something that I've been doing the past 2 years that I think is helping a little bit is I've been writing every challenge that I'm passing through on an Excel sheet, and I'm numbering them. So challenge number 1, and just a bullet point of the challenge and what happened next. So since the past 2 years now, I have 110 stories. 110 stories of challenges that either has a story or inspiration, or turned into a success, or turned into another challenge, for example. And what I'm doing is on a weekly basis now, during our weekly meetings, I ask a team member to choose a number. And when they choose a number, I tell them that challenge I went through, or the company I went through. And then if someone repeats this number again, then they need to say a story or a challenge. So when I started doing this, I realized that it's actually giving real-life, authentic examples, rather than just coming and tell them, you have to do that, you have to do this, no, you don't give up, don't ever try again, don't lose hope. But when they see a real-life example, like, okay, this happened to him, and because he went that extra mile, and they remember that story, this is more impactful. So I feel that we need to be all more storytellers, right? Every one of you has a story. Every one of you has millions and hundreds of challenges that you go through. But sometimes you go through this challenge and you forget about it. Write it down on a simple Excel sheet on a Google Drive. Just number them down and remember them. And this will give you, as a person, so much power, because it will make you remember how you overcome these challenges. So when other challenges come in life to you or to other people around you, you will know that these will pass as well. And this is, I think, the main purpose of really showing people with real-life examples and stories.
I'm definitely going to take up that one for sure. I think it's a unique, and I think there's one thing that I believe Gen Z's spot right away, and that's authenticity. We know right behind the screen if someone's being paid to do something or someone. So the fact that you actually related it to authentic stories, I think that is a key takeaway. Do we have any other gaps we think that we can fill? Thuy Anh? Feel free to just jump in.
For me, I guess like a small thing that comes to mind is, I mean, I completely agree with what Khaled said, because the first thing I would have said too was authenticity, because that's such a big thing with young people right now. But another thing I would say, it's important to just make sure that it's in our sight, is that as we grow older and engage with our generation and try to do more in positions of power and, you know, create more change in the world, it's important for us as Gen Z to be understood correctly by older generations. And I find that, I mean, a big part of what I do is people coming to us and asking us, like, what do we get wrong about Gen Z? What do we not understand about them that you'd like us to understand? So a big part of that is that a lot of older generations, and I guess it's justifiable that they think that because that's how the world has been, but they very often say that our generation is going through like a phase of activism and idealism that they will grow out of as they grow older, because every generation at this point in their lives has similar traits. And I think what's important to understand is that people like us have grown up as digital natives, which has never happened before. And that means that we grew up with unprecedented access to information and resources. So when you feel that urge for idealism and activism and to create some change in the world, you actually have a lot more tools at your disposal to make it happen and to see what is going on among other people around you and connect with them and learn. So it's a lot easier to create that change. So that is a big part of what drives Gen Z as well. And it's important to keep an open mind for older generations that look at us and are like, okay, like you will grow out of that phase, to realize that it's a different time in the world now, and we can use technology a lot more actively to create change and create initiatives that we care about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I think that our voice is being heard, and it must be heard, and frankly, it is also being you know, acted. Like we see the UN, we see global organizations now listening to Gen Z, and the data coming out is remarkable. The habits, what we like to do, spend time doing, our relationships, the way we meet, connect with people, it's remarkably different. And I think you might look at it and think it's scary, but I think with our lens today, I think we look at it and we see opportunity. I definitely also want to hear from Okan and Thuy.
So I think what we are talking about is already asked and repeated so many times, like thousand times in the past, because the world has been living for 1,000 years. And it's not the only time that we are talking about the gap between generation and the changes and how the old and the new generation can work together. It already happened like for so many, like 1,000 years already. Yeah. And my parent only taught me one thing. My mom, she didn't really teach me like how to work and what should I do to live. But she only tell me one thing, that focus on your core value, because every generation is different. But the core value is if you really understand what you want to do and what your core value is, and then you can live with your true self. And every generation needs that, I think.
Yeah, I think we touched on that earlier, with feeling belonging and communities, and I think core values, as you mentioned. I think this should be an exercise we should do at school in character building. I think that there's so much noise out there today that it hurts many young people in finding themselves, their identity, what they believe, what they stand up for. And yes, religion, countries, we're so proud of the labels we hold, but I question everybody today, how strong do we associate with those labels? Younger generations today are challenging this notion, and we actually stress test this when major incidences happen. So I definitely, I really believe in what you've just mentioned today, Thuy, and I think that it's incredibly important. Okan, the floor is yours.
Exactly. Attention gap is, I think it's quite important, because I also usually work with the young generation, younger than me, and they are quite straightforward. They are always interested in about the results, not the progress. It's sometimes it's an advantage, sometimes it's a disadvantage, because the progress will bring the experience, right? All of the stories belongs to these experience. It is not waste of time, but we need to find the balance. Balance, I think, it is the key point. But in order to understand that gap, I'm just looking some good examples. For example, Spotify using that attention point in a really good way. When you click on to download any music, it's a key seconds. If I remember right, it's around 1.8 seconds of period. All of the Spotify music just download in a 1.8 seconds, not less than or more than, because of the psychology side of the attention. More, if it will be more than 1.8, it will feel that, wow, it's gonna be took long time. It is not actually, even it can be 2 seconds or 3 seconds. But even in Instagram, when you refresh it, in Twitter, when you refresh it, getting bothering because you are expecting new content to see. That is why this new generational attention point is important, but the way you communicate, as you mentioned about storytelling is important. The way you understand other people with an empathic way, as you mentioned in the beginning, getting more and more important, but there is no lecturing classes right now to teach children these skills. We are calling these skills as social and emotional learning, but we should find some resources. There are lots of resources, but we need to be more volunteer to learn them, to read more books, to listen more podcasts and YouTube channels. I think the way you communicate, the way you understand other people is getting more and more important. But I'm more interested in about Spotify example. You can use that knowledge to create another value in your business. I think the world is going more and more fast. Even we can talk about 0.5 seconds, 0.2 seconds maybe in the future with the 5G, with the internet speed. I think it's also really important side to change our perspective about that side.
Yeah, and I think, I think wrapping it up today, I think there's so many resources. I'd like to just touch on one thing you've said with regards to podcasts and education. I think that we did an experiment at EMPWR when we were working with a government entity here, and we put out 5 podcasts in Arabic around well-being. And in 5 months, they got over 2 million downloads. We realized that sometimes the gap isn't so difficult, but it's just, it needs to be done, or else where do you go to get free education? There's a lot of people that are looking for things to consume to better empower themselves because they don't have places to go to get access. So I think, in closing today, I think I definitely want to open the floor to our audience if there are any questions for our esteemed speakers. And of course, before then, I'd like to just give everyone here a final sort of minute or so to wrap things up. And I just want to say thank you. I know we flew in from Vietnam, Turkey, Iceland. So again, thank you so much. But the floor is yours, Khaled, and we'll take it, inshallah.
Thank you for having me here first, and hope we all can inspire people, inspire the youth from the region. I think the region, as I see it, has big potential. I can see that the region here, especially what's happening the past couple of years, is going to be the region, the core place for the world in the next couple of years. So we need to invest in our youth. We need to invest in our people. We need to really take things in the best way possible to really inspire the world, to really make a big change around the world and build that positivity and that culture of positivity and well-being and doing great things to impact the world in the best way possible. So thank you again, and thank you for having me here.
No, it's been a pleasure, Khaled. I think, all the best with you. And you've mentioned how community within young people, I think passing it forward is very important, especially within minority communities that we haven't yet all achieved that same mentality of resilience and facing hardships. So thank you so much, Khaled.
Yeah, thank you very much. I actually really appreciate the chance to, it's an opportunity for us to share perspective and to understand, because obviously my age and also Erifili age is kind of like different already. And I feel like I can learn a lot from you guys and other speakers as well. And I believe that those kind of conference is really important, especially in this like modern world when everything changing fast and we can have chances to share and to learn. I think it's extremely important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thuy Anh.
Thank you very much for being us here. It's super excited to be here. Once again, thank you for your hospitality. I can end up my words, maybe there is a quotation I really like from Pablo Picasso. The meaning of life, to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. I really like that sentences. Everybody has different expertising points, strength points, weakness points. When you find your gift, that gift helps you to answer your question, why I am in here, why I am in this world, why I am, let's say, struggling about these problems. It directly changes your perspective about the problems and the situation that you faced. So I wish everyone to find your gift in your life. And hopefully, inshallah, you will give it away to the people surrounding yourself. Of course, they will be great people like you. I wish everyone to find their gift. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Okan.
Thank you. And thank you guys for sharing such inspiring perspectives as well. For me, I think one thing that I'd like to close with is just to say how important it is for young people to not be afraid to act. And what I mean by that is that so many young people have these ideas and this passion to work on different things, but they often overthink it or don't know how to access resources they need. And I think it's important to highlight that even though the internet has, lowered our attention span, as Okan said, or made us more prone to instant gratification, it's also such a great tool for young people to learn anything they want and to create anything they want, even with limited resources, or even if they're in countries where it isn't as common. So I think it's so important, if you have an idea or something that you're passionate about, to just literally start doing it, like do step one, and that makes such a big difference. So yeah, thank you again.
Completely agree, Erifili. Thank you so much. Before we kind of wrap things up, do we have any questions for our esteemed panel? For sure. Do we have a microphone or? I think, yeah, let's definitely. This has been great, guys. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah.
First of all, thanks a million for being there on the stage and sharing your greatest inputs. What's that one quality that differentiates you all between an employee mindset and an employer mindset? Because all of you are great entrepreneurs. So what's that one thing would you like to convey to the youth to be the entrepreneurs of the future?
As far as I understand, let me just wrap up question. There is a mindset change, yeah? Right, you mean like an employee mindset to the business owner mindset. How we just go that journey. My journey, maybe I can just briefly answer and then give the floor my friends. Let's say the people surrounding yourself pushes you to think about differently. Because when you think about being employee, you always think about there are lots of lack of resources. But it is not actually. When you see that it is my responsibility, it is my accountability, all and all, even you don't have any team member. All of us, I think, struggled these before. You always start everything alone. When you be in the road, everybody would like to be attend and partner with you. But the first thing they would like to see is your motivation and your passion about being that road. For me, the answer is being motivated and feeling passionate about the journey I am in. If not, it will not be the right path to be an owner, an enterprise, I think. You should change the direction. But try and try, you will find the right journey for you, I think.
Would anyone else like to add onto that? I think ownership. It's one word, ownership.
Yeah.
Taking ownership over what you do. It's the mindset that when you do it work. And actually, the most successful startups, they say your ex Uber or ex whatever. I think they take pride in them having accomplished something in a place, and that is because you've owned that task. You've really owned it, and you wear it wherever you go. So that's the same as business owners as well. I think now we were seeing that you can be a young individual, but you might not have the idea yet, but the way you approach everything makes everyone want to be on your team. It's like a sport, it's a team sport, and business is a team sport. I think business, there's competition. I'm an ex-professional swimmer, athlete, swam for 13 years, and I can tell you 100% that the mindset that you learn in sport, and that's why I think education and sports come hand in hand, but it's ownership over everything you do. That's a killer characteristic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions before you wrap?
Yes, please. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, thank you so much for your for everything you did and for everything you said. But I have only one question. All right? How would you convince how could you convince a person, a damaged one, a hopeless one, inspire them with your stories? This is the main question. Because sometimes even when you tell someone to do this and do it and never stop and never give up, if you do this, you will succeed. If you won't, you won't. So the main question, you were telling your stories, all right? Everyone did. But I was confused because maybe you have succeeded in your life. You have done everything, all right? And you have succeeded. But what about someone who did everything but still didn't? So how would you use your story helping him to succeed or to change his vision? This is the main question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Would someone like to take that?
Actually, I have something to share with you, even when I'm on stage today, but I never talk about myself as a successful cases. Because you know, what does success mean? It depends on how you look at it. For example, to me, I really embrace the lesson that I learned yesterday. And I tell myself that I cannot like repeat the faults or repeat something that I did bad yesterday. I don't repeat it again today. So that to me calls something like improvement, and I really embrace the improvement. And yet, for example, my startup right now, although it has like variety of achievement, but who knows something is going to happen in the future. Even when you are a big corporation, no one can know how long can it will endure in the future. So one thing I can say to you is that look into the past and see what you can learn from it. And if you are today, you are better than yesterday, it's already a huge achievement, and you should embrace that.
I think I want to add something to you. I think I really relate to you because I'm in a place right now that I can tell you that I've got Forbes 30 under 30. I've spoken everywhere, but I didn't succeed. My business isn't succeeding. And it might be something that I don't share. I carry myself very well, but I understand that I'm torn apart because for whatever reason, I couldn't raise a sum or whatever. The economy wasn't good in Egypt or whatever. I can't control it. I can't. But I'm telling myself, like, I worked 3 years. I've done a historic milestone for myself. I look at myself and I tell myself, if I was in Canada, if I was whatever, or if I was whatever. But I wanted to share this with you because I actually had to ask myself, what was it in the journey that was the gift? The gift was that I was able to be vulnerable. The gift was that I understood how to connect with people. And perhaps this was the gift that will be that golden piece that I will take in my next step. Or maybe that next step is in front of me and I can't see it. But I always get scared from falling too deep and not seeing like opportunities around me, because I can tell you from having suffered clinical depression, having a mood disorder myself, I do it out of passion. But I also know that sometimes like there are things around me that I lose visibility of when I'm not thinking at my best. So all I try to tell you is strive to be the best that you can and take it day by day, because it doesn't get easier. You get a little bit, honestly, you get a little bit more resilient day by day by taking care of the things that maybe you're not taking care of. Like your eat, your sleep, you know, the words you tell someone you love, like so super simple things, but they go such a long way.
Yeah, sure, but have you ever mentioned what helped you or who helped you? Standing here didn't came alone.
Yeah, of course.
There was something behind it. So what was it?
I would say that, you know, I'm not going to speak on behalf of others, but I would say that for me it was personal. It was personal. I struggled a lot when I was studying in Canada, and I didn't find the help. So I did this because I really wanted to empower a lot, and especially men, because I found that when I was going through a very tough time, it was very, very difficult to speak and to be seen as a man. So I channeled it to become my vision or my enterprise or what I want to do every day. But I'm sure here speaking, everyone has got that it, and maybe we've discovered, we spoke about it earlier on. What was this it that makes us wake up motivated, makes us overcome this trip that changed your perspective? And maybe it hasn't happened yet for someone, but maybe it's coming. And all I want to say is, we've discussed patience today. We've discussed the way we want to see the world. And if there's anything that we can learn moving forward from today, is that you're definitely not alone in the way you want to tackle your challenges. And we can take it one-on-one with you after. But thank you so much. And I just want to say that I know we're running out of time. Thank you so much for this team panel. I'm honored to share the stage with you. I'm honored to be, here in this incredible conference. Thank you so much. One final question. Yes.
Hi, thank you so much for being here and sharing your experience. It means a lot. Actually, I was wondering if I can get your insights on something. I have an NGO back in Brazil, and recently we expanded to India. We support vulnerable teenagers, especially orphans, to develop self-knowledge and career readiness skills. I started this NGO basically when I was 17, because I understood that not everyone have the same starting point. And when I moved from my parents' house to start university, I didn't feel ready to face all the challenge. So I imagine if I didn't have my mom, how would that be? Right now we impact 70,000 young people per year. And we recently launched a book because with the pandemic we were no longer able to deliver the workshops. One of the main frameworks, if I can call this way, that the young people really like to reflect on is the ikigai, to choose the profession, right? So they are very motivated to answer the questions, what they love, what they are good at, what the world needs, and what they can be paid for. And along with these answers, they actually start a very deep reflection on what legacy they want to leave to this world. But I'm not sure if it's the best formula or if these questions are enough. So I would love to hear your opinion, if you have anything to add or change that I could share with these young people. Thank you so much.
I can add something. Is my mic working? Yeah, okay. I can add something. Thank you for your question. I think that the basis of Ikigai in general, if you look at it from afar, what it's based on is following your inspiration. And I think that it's very easy to, like, as practical advice basically, as what you can tell them is to see what inspires you and what has always made you feel inspired in your life. Even look at a young age, like maybe it was traveling, maybe it was reading, maybe it was like looking up what is going wrong with like global healthcare and how to fix it. You know what I mean? Everyone has topics and things that always made them feel more inspired and that they felt like they could talk about or research for hours without feeling like it's work. And I think it's very interesting to reflect upon what that is for you or for those young people. And for example, for some, it's simply connecting with others, having conversations inspires them. And to think, how can you achieve that through your work in one way or another? For example, maybe your work will enable you to then create a lifestyle where you can do more of what inspires you, or your work itself can revolve around what inspires you. But I think that, yeah, basically following your inspiration as a start is a very, very good tool that everyone can reflect on pretty easily.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid, guys, we have to wrap it up. It's been great sharing the stage again. Thank you so much, and we'll be hanging around, I believe, after. So once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. I don't know. Someone's telling me to cut. Someone's telling me to stay on. I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.